When looking for the king of podcasts, you're at the wrong channel. Looking for good ideas for life? You are far from good hands. If you think the listener is always right, you are far from the right place. Hosted by a Northeasterner by birth, a rebel by choice. If you want a host that floats between love and madness, then play on and listen to Crazy Train Radio.
What up? Excuse me while I whip this out. Oh, gnarly! Say what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. Say what one more goddamn time.
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
And good evening, friends!
Love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage.
What's up, Doc?
I'll tell you what's up. Based out of Atlantic City, New Jersey, Geek Time Entertainment runs exclusively along with different events in the area to strategize with their partners who will benefit with increased exposure and patron traffic. Geek Time Entertainment will work with your event in increasing the event's traffic via social media, radio, and storefront advertisements.
Holy cow!
Also, they will help increase business for your company and event with different sales incentives.
Duh.
Whether your event will be small or even mid-scale, Geek Time Entertainment is the group to work with.
That's what I'm talking about.
Contact them today at geektimeentertainment@gmail.com or facebook.com/geektimeentertainment.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
Well, folks, we're here at Monster Mania with, most people know her as Marcy D'Arcy or Amy Peterson. Obviously, at this event, it's Amy Peterson. Most people would recognize her. Amanda Bearse, how we doing?
Good. Nice to be here.
Yes. Did you get any rest because of your travels late night and in the morning?
Well, I wanted to be here for all 3 days, so in order to do that, I needed to take a red eye. But yeah, I got a little nap, and I'm ready to go.
Fresh and
yeah,
fed and
ready
all
to
that?
meet everybody here in Cherry Hill.
Well, I guess I'll ask the first question based on this then. How many events like this do you usually do yearly?
Well, Fright Night sort of had a bit of a resurgence there with the 25th anniversary and then the 30th, and now I think we're on year 31. So the number has kicked up a little bit. So I don't know that I have a number per year, but this was one of my very first ones that Monster Mania, that I did probably 11, maybe even 12 years ago.
I think it was, I remember seeing something about like 07 that you were.
It was 07? It was that late?
I don't know.
Maybe so.
I think that was one of the dates I've seen.
You know what? But then maybe it's only 8 years ago, but it's been a while. So during that time, I mean, I guess I do a handful a year, I would say.
Well, because obviously when doing research and all, I saw you keep yourself pretty busy.
Yeah.
Just because you may not be on screen, quote unquote, with the directing. And
Right.
Are you still teaching?
I am.
Is that where you're coming from?
Yeah, I live in the Seattle area, and I teach at the Seattle Film Institute.
What do you specifically work on when you're teaching?
I am the head of the Actors BA Completion Program.
Okay.
So I teach acting, both as a basic acting and then in front of the camera. So there's a number of different courses. It's a great program. It's a 5-course BA completion degree. So we get you through pretty quickly, but very readily in terms of being prepared to have a professional career.
Now, because obviously, like I said, been doing some research on you and all, and you studied up in New York.
Yes.
Up at the Neighborhood Playhouse.
Yes.
Under
With Sandy Meisner.
Yes.
Yes.
And there's two different styles that are known, Meisner and Strasberg's.
Yeah.
Do you work on teaching those styles when you teach the class, or is that a whole different ball game when you're doing the BA?
What great questions you ask. As a matter of fact, that's what I teach is basic acting, which is a technique that I learned at the Neighborhood Playhouse under Sandy Meisner. It's called the Meisner Technique. And both he and Strasberg and Stella Adler, she was a big part of the group theater as well.
Okay.
And they all, sort of went and, not all of them went and met Stanislavski, but it's all the same means to an end in terms of trying to get truth, living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. Then they sort of, as like rock bands do, they broke up and went their different ways. But the Meisner technique really worked for me as a young actor, and so that's what I teach to my my new class of actors as they enter the program in Seattle.
How long have you been teaching
This is a new thing for me. This is this year, so this is brand new, but they offered me to head the whole program, and I'm excited about it.
Now, how are they, as far as doing directing or coming to things like this, schedule-wise, to allow you to do other things with your career?
Well, that's why I had to take a red eye.
Okay.
I try to have my schedule in terms of teaching sort of in the middle of the work week, so that if I have a Friday or a Monday off, I'm constantly in meetings as well. But typically, these conventions are Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
So those 3 days I try to free myself up in order to be able to travel. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, directing. Are you doing anything currently directing? I've heard, obviously you got your start directing with Married with Children, doing episodes, but you've done stuff with some of the, like Nick, I believe I heard, and some of the other channels like based
Well, I
on
directed
certain
hundreds
genres.
of sitcoms since Married with Children that they gave me my start so many years ago. It's been 25 years behind the camera now. So, and mostly episodic half-hour comedy. But quite a while back, I directed a show called Mad TV.
Yes.
And did 6 years on that. And then I created a show, another sketch show for the Logo Network called The Big Gay Sketch Show. I ran that for 3 years.
That's what I was thinking about.
And I just completed actually my first half-hour comedy pilot that was broken up into 5 webisodes. It's technically my first web series. The same production goes into it, you know what I mean? You do it the same way. It's just the size of the screen that it ends up on.
Yeah, true. Well, obviously, I know directing-wise, you tend to enjoy, from what I've heard anyway, the multi-camera shoot. Is there a reason you like that style when you're filming something or directing something?
Well, that's what was prolific way back when Married with Children was on the air. So that's what I learned to do, not only from being on set as an actor in soap operas, they're shot multi-camera, but also sitcoms. And so that was the obvious transition. At the time, we weren't using digital media. It was beta. Digibeta, and so it was multi-camera videotape, and then I moved to multi-camera film, where they were using true film stock. Then when high def came into play, everybody's pretty much doing that now. The series I just shot, Skirt Chasers, was single camera. So it's whatever the script dictates. I like my old school stuff. I grew up watching TV. I grew up watching multi-camera sitcoms. I kind of like that formula, but I just go where the fun is.
Exactly. Well, as far as directing's concerned, when you're dealing with actors or talent or whatever crew, whatever angle you want to look at, do you feel you have a little more credibility, that people will listen to you because of having the experience on the stage or in front of the camera, or the different things you've done over your career?
Well, I mean, I think your track record speaks for itself, but I think initially people had a recognition with me because of Married with Children, and so it was a little bit like a nice calling card in a way that they had some sense of me. So when I walked in the room, they're like, "Oh, okay, I know her."
A familiarity to you. Well, does that hurt you as well? Because of when you're like, I don't know how involved you are with as far as hiring the actors and going through the process with a project. Does that hurt you because you've been on the other side of the camera there, going for jobs and hoping you get the roles?
Well, I'd like to think that I have a little more compassion. because there's nothing good you can say about auditioning. It's just brutal. It really is. But it's a necessary evil of the business.
Yeah.
This last project that I did, Skirt Chasers, I was very involved with the casting. When I was working full-time in Hollywood, which hasn't been that way for a long time, but when I was working full-time and going show to show to show, I wasn't really involved with the casting process because I didn't have time.
Yeah.
I was on to the next. And of course they have casting directors and all of those different departments in place to sort of take care of that.
But do you think that's important for the director to have a say in if you have the time and availability?
Oh yeah, it's a process I love, and I was very much involved with the Big Gay Sketch Show, which launched Kate McKinnon's career, and Julie Goldman and Stephen Garino, and I'm very proud of that because it's really wonderful to be able to hire people.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a great feeling.
Now, obviously, we're at a horror convention, as we said. Fright Night, and your role is Amy Peterson. I heard Tom Holland quoted that your role in particular was probably the hardest to cast. Did you ever hear that, obviously, over time? Or what have you heard about that?
I only know that my experience was I was 26 years old.
Okay.
And I was playing younger. But it was really interesting to be in the room and sitting next to real 16 and 17-year-old girls going, I don't know about this. But the character has such a wonderful arc in the story in terms of what happens with her symbolically, sort of being bitten and sort of that passage of life. So she has to transition into a more worldly young woman. And so I think he wasn't able to find that in younger actors because they just didn't have the life experience.
But was that a good thing or make you feel uncomfortable?
No. It was great. It's what worked for me that I had, lived my life a little bit longer than most of these girls.
You went through school, you had training, you had some...
and I had relationships. So it's sort of like, when you're talking about a love story, and that's really what it was, for both Charlie and Amy, it's a kind of puppy love, but also with Jerry Dandridge's, Chris Sarandon's character, that you need to be able to make those connections from a place in yourself that has some experience.
Well, obviously, what do you say? Obviously, we're at a horror convention here, but do you find people asking you about Fright Night more or Married with Children more?
It's pretty split, no matter if I've only done one Comic-Con, but so usually when I'm at one of these, people come up because of Married with Children, but of course they come because they're horror movie fans and they know Fright Night, so yeah.
Yeah, because it's funny, as far as Married with Children, it's amazing that it's still on syndication to this day.
Yeah,
because
it's never left the air.
Yeah, because personally, I know I can say I watch it in the morning getting ready to go to work.
Thank you.
Or go to the studio.
Love
or
to
whatever
hear
the case. Over on TBS. TBS, send me that check, please. Thank you. But does that amaze you this far out since that the show's still on the air in some form or fashion?
It does. The longevity has been, it wasn't anything we could have predicted. But I think because it's just a show to make you laugh, you really don't have to think. It's silly, it's goofy, it owns that. It owns that part of the way it's created, and we had a good time making it. So when you do, that energy can come off the screen and people have a good time watching it.
So it definitely seems like it's lasted the test of time because of the structure, I guess you would say, with the family structure, or like with the Bundys being the neighbor.
It just hit a nerve, and again, we started the Fox Network. This was 1986. 30 years ago we made the pilot this year. It got on the air in 87. So, we're at 29 years when this launched, and this was just the beginning of the cable
explosion and the boom.
And nobody said they said there would never be a fourth network. showed you. Now
Yeah,
it's considered, one of the
top.
Well,
And
it's considered one of the big four, and
now they got spin-offs of FXX.
Oh,
and,
everything.
It's like amazing.
Everything, indeed. So, the industry has changed so much. In the 35 years that I've been in it, that's a long time. Television is a relatively young industry.
Yeah,
So,
since the 50s. So
yeah, exactly.
If you think about it.
And I teach the history of actually beginning in vaudeville and going to radio and going to television, because a lot of my young students don't have that frame of reference. But I've been in the television industry for more than half the life of television itself.
Which is scary,
Well,
right?
it's scary, but it's also like I'm still here to tell stories and talk to you.
It's scary because you're only 32 years old, so how the hell did you pull that one off?
Good one.
Obviously, I've heard rumors and that there was possible a little bit of you're isolated from some of the cast from Married with Children. Is that true? Is that that you kind of kept to yourself from?
I'm still in touch with Christina. I moved away from LA.
Yeah.
But at the end of the run of the show, it's not a secret that there was some distress, and so there was, in terms of some of the relationships, there was no love lost there. I don't dwell on that. I love that I'm still in touch with Christina. I ran into Katie years ago. So, if the paths cross, everything's fine, but with one exception. But it was also, I was really hopeful that there was a time when people were going to, they were talking about doing a reboot of it.
Okay. With
Bud as the center character, because he's now the same age as Al Bundy.
Yeah.
And I was very excited for David to have that opportunity, but apparently it's a little mired in legalities because one of the creators passed away, so they're dealing with estate issues.
The last question would be, obviously, you have come out as a lesbian in 1993 and have been an advocate.
Professionally. I've been a lesbian a lot longer than that.
Hey, send her checks to Seattle, to the school. No, for the professional side of things. No, but which is awesome. You've been an advocate for the many of the different causes and the LBGT, if I have that right.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, because I always get the abbreviations.
I know, there's a lot of initials.
So many different,
I know, and it keeps growing.
But no, I think it's great that you've been advocating for so long for the cause and everything. And obviously in recent years, there's been changes as far as...
great strides.
As far as the marriage and so many different
things. For equal rights.
What's, from what you've seen since you've been advocating for those kind of causes, has probably been the biggest success or victory, would you say?
Well, you know what? When I came out professionally, it was around the birth of my daughter. She's now 23 years old.
Okay.
And I joined forces with the Human Rights Campaign, the HRC, which is the largest lobbying group for equal rights for the LGBT community out of Washington, D.C., because they had acquired a day called National Coming Out Day.
Okay.
And it was October 11th, and I became their first poster child. Because back then, 23 years ago, it was so important, and it still is, to put a face to our community. Because it's just a known fact that when you're less likely to discriminate when you have a personal connection with someone. So if people say, oh, I know that person, or I recognize that face. Oh, that's not scary. She's not scary. She's not going to do anything to me. Or whatever the fear or the hate, whatever the distrust, whatever it is, the lack of compassion that people had towards the LGBT community, it helps to quiet that. And so now we've come a long way that campaign doesn't really need the focus that it did once, because the more and more people are out in the community. There are many more faces in the entertainment industry.
Any industry.
And any industry. And so I see that as a real growth and evolution for the equal rights for LGBT people.
Well, if people want to, obviously you're keeping busy directing, teaching, conventions, everything that we've talked about, and then some. If people want to find out what you're up to, what kind of projects you're working on, or whatever the case is, how can they find you social media-wise?
I'm still working on that, but I do have a website. I'm going to rework it, but you can find me at amandabearse.biz.
Okay.
But I'm going to get better and better at that, because now that I'm hanging out with all these young students who are, it's second nature to them. It's not for my generation,
hey,
but
Zoe,
it's important, and I wanna be in touch with people. So
hey Zoe, I believe that's your daughter's name.
Zoe, yeah.
Zoe, you're 23. You're of that social media tech. Hook mom up.
Yeah, well, she's tried,
Yeah,
but especially it's a great way for personal promotion.
Yes.
You know, it's such a tool in the entertainment industry, so I plan to take better advantage of it.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. What a lovely list of questions. I really enjoyed talking with you.
With over 30 years of experience and a superb reputation for being a detail-oriented company, Lacey Cleaning has some of the highest work standards in the cleaning business.
That's the fact, Jack!
Whether it's carpet cleaning, tile, grout cleaning, new construction cleanup, rental turnovers, vent and duct cleaning, odor elimination, office and or business cleaning, power washing, residential cleaning, you name it, they do it. Woo! Check them out. To contact them today, laceycleaning@gmail.com or call them at 609-709-8536.
That's what I'm talking about.